Good afternoon. Okay, issue today. Got a phone call from an old friend. Used to live in my area, moved somewhat far away. Haven't seen them in a few years. Anyway, this has to do with the impact that long-term disability benefits can suffer based on the terms of that policy when it comes to having Social Security. Normally when we talk about this, it is about, and a video just posted about this generally, long-term disability policies, by and large today, and there can be exceptions. But by and large, employer-provided policies, if you're going to go on long-term disability, not so much short-term, will require that you file for SSD. And if you prevail, you have to give them proof that you filed too. If you prevail, they will be looking to offset the amount they're supposed to give you with the amount you get from Social Security disability. We see this a lot. It has nothing to do with the Social Security Administration. They don't enforce it. They don't care what contracts you have with other people that you have to pay. And that would be a contract in your own rest of your life. They don't interfere. They don't make you pay it. It's a contract you have, and whether you comply with it or breach it or not is not their concern any more than, whether you choose to pay a credit card. Okay. So Social Security is not technically involved in this, but your policy that your employer purchased, or you may have purchased if you bought one privately, like some very smart people do that can afford it. And the rest of us don't think we can, and we don't. And we might not be able to. And I speak for myself here. That term is likely going to be in there unless you went for a more expensive policy and decided, no, I do not want that offset. If I get long-term disabled, I want to be able to collect my long-term disability insurance that I bought, and I want to fully collect my Social Security disability insurance that I bought. Now, the companies that provide the ones that have the offset term in there, those are going to be cheaper premiums too. So why would someone do that? Because the premiums are cheaper. So it can be an affordability issue when someone wants a disability plan just to cover the bases. And then, don't think they can afford it with the full blown, you get it no matter what. It might be another way to be able to get it. But again, if your Social Security disability is as high as your long-term disability benefits, it's going to be a wash, and you will in essence no longer be getting long-term disability, even though you paid for that policy. But your premiums to have purchased it should be commensurate with that. You know what I mean? They should be that much lower as a result. And I'm sure it's done actuarially and all that crazy jazz. But anyway, so what was interesting was this fellow is took early retirement, stopped working a few months ago, started taking early retirement, say at age 65, I think. So he's on retirement. And it turns out, and I just wanted to put it out there, that the long-term disability policy that was paying short-term while short-term was in effect and paid him, say, the full 60 or 70% of his salary, once he went on retirement, so we're not talking disability, we're talking retirement, and he's not 67 or 66 and 8 months or whatever his full retirement age is, they offset something. Did they? No, maybe not. With the short-term disability, he got it flat out. And I think that's when he started getting Social Security retirement that he just decided to file for. He never filed for Social Security disability. I kind of gave him a little this morning about it. Because even though he's older, I think maybe he should have. But anyway, because now he's got, like maybe a 15% permanent reduction in his retirement benefit because he took early retirement, which he didn't know was early retirement because it was age 65. Some people think that's full retirement age. It's not. It used to be many years ago, many years ago. For those people my age, 50s above, it's like 67. So, 50s and below, I should say, 57, 67. I can talk. So he was getting what he thought was comfy, his early retirement, which wasn't bad at all. I mean, it's way above average. And his short-term disability. And it was a nice, comfortable amount to retire on. Very comfortable. When it switched to long-term disability, because I do recognize that he's long-term disabled, not just, injured for a brief period. Now I think and I said to him, I go, I don't know your policy, but it looks like you have a long-term disability policy. This term did not apply to the short term, but to the long term, that says if you take Social Security at all, it doesn't have to be disability. When you collect Social Security retirement, we offset. So the offset is enough to bring him down to $27 a week for long-term disability payments. So, he was a little upset about that because it used to be so much more. But that's just something to take note of. Your long-term disability payments may in fact stop after 2 years, may in fact stop when you collect any retirement, may in fact just be offset when you collect any kind of Social Security, disability, or retirement. So you need to know, ideally, if you can find out what your policy says. If you have a work-related policy, maybe try to get your hands on one. That can be very tricky. Oftentimes the employers, the HRs have no clue, so you could maybe push for it. I probably would because I'm a little pushy, as you know. But anyway, so just know that could be, he's had a big eye opener today, and I feel terrible that he's in this predicament because he didn't expect it. Certainly there's no deserving of everything like this. He just didn't know. So he felt more comfortable than it turns out he's going to be able to be. So keep that in mind when you all are, dealing with your LTD and your Social Security retirement. If he had taken Social Security disability, which would have been a bigger amount than early retirement and would have continued to be a bigger amount when it flipped to final retirement, probably all that LTD would be gone. Sounds like, because he would have so much more. He'd be making more though. So let's say he was making 2,000 early retirement and I don't know, I'm just going to throw out numbers like and $1,950 Social Security. LTD, this isn't in theory, I'm just playing with numbers, would pay the 50 because they'd offset the 1950, but they owe him 2,000, so they pay him the 50. If his Social Security was 2,500, because it's going to be like a lot. Well, his isn't going to be so much greater, but yeah, it's going to be probably a few $100. That would put him over making more than LTD ever paid him, and the LTD would therefore be totally offset. That's what LTDs do now. So unless you buy one that doesn't and pay a higher premium for that, expect this. Okay. Like I said, I think today, this video is not going to come out today, probably because I only like to let them publish one so that I don't bombard subscribers, because who wants to get 10? Sometimes, but this is the second one made the same day. It'll come out probably in I'll link it though to the other one that just came out today, if I can figure out how to do that. All right. See you guys back to work.